What does the world look like to a bat that only knows the echo of ultrasound? A chameleon whose eyeballs swivel on two different axes. What does this look like to an insect with 100 eyes? You have no idea. Okay, yet we say that the human perception of the world is the real look of it. What we call fundamental reality is beyond that. It's that which gives rise to color, shape, form, sound, taste, and smell, and then feeling, and ultimately thought, which is the interpretation of all that.
There is no one observable or measurable truth. You're basically saying it's all a relative truth.
Every truth that we experience is relative. The only absolute truth would be something that's inconceivable and not perceivable, but which gives rise to all forms of conception and perception.
A very famous Danish philosopher said, Soren Kierkegaard, I don't know if you know him, but I mean, many people have said this: consciousness precedes existence. And in the Bible it says, in the beginning, there was the Word. It was the spoken word. That consciousness is what created this existence.
Yeah. Think of that in terms of language, you see. So if I asked you, what is this? You'd probably say it's a waistcoat. If I asked you, what is this? You'd probably say it's a watch. What is this? You'd say a hand. But that's not your raw experience. If you were a baby, you have no idea this is called a hand or this is called a watch. But you have an experience. What is the experience? Its shape, its color, its form, its sound, its taste, its smell, its feeling, and ultimately it's one form of sensation or the other: sense perceptions, images, feelings, thoughts. A baby experiences that without giving words to it. But then as soon as you call the shape a hand, it becomes a hand. So what we call fundamental reality is beyond that. It's that which gives rise to color, shape, form, sound, taste, and smell, and then feeling, and ultimately thought, which is the interpretation of all that. But thought is language, okay? So in a way, language constructs, governs, language conceives, constructs, governs, and becomes our experience of the body, the mind, the world. Now we are actually understanding that even more with AI, which is basically a large language model. So there's no human being who can combine the languages of physics and chemistry and biology and mathematics and anthropology and philosophy and every form of human thought, and synthesize that based on a few prompts that you feed it. And those are the key to what the AI delivers as information. And information is a very good word. Information gives rise to form. So everything that is informed becomes a form. But what is informing is a more fundamental level of reality, which is beyond the word, which actually created the word. And that's how the word became the flesh. And now the word, with large language models, is expanding the experience of what we call the universe. It's actually mind-boggling in a way, because the more we actually combine our languages, which are modes of knowing, conceptualized, ultimately there's nothing other than modes of knowing and experience, which are in consciousness. But as soon as you conceptualize them, then that perception becomes a tree, it becomes a watch, it becomes the Milky Way galaxy. This is very hard for scientists to accept, because all science is based on naive realism. This is not a condescending word. Naive realism means that the world is real as perceived by humans. What does the world look like to a bat that only knows the echo of ultrasound? A chameleon whose eyeballs swivel on two different axes. What does this look like to an insect with 100 eyes? You have no idea. Okay, yet we say that the human perception of the world is the real look of it. It's one of the many infinite looks, that the infinite, inscrutable, without form, becomes all these appearances, infinite appearances.